Yeah.
All right, good morning. My name is Jason Morrow. I work in incident management at Walmart. And in Walmart, our incident management practices really has 5 disciplines. It includes our cyber intelligence practice, our data assurance or data protection, data loss prevention practice, as well as our traditional incident response practice and our assume breach or hunt practice. I have responsibility for that 5th discipline, which is the Security Operations Center. So we do 24/7 real-time threat monitoring, and includes our intrusion analyst group, our event collection engineers, our SIEM engineers, as well as our data analytics and reporting group. We have a quality assurance group that work to ensure that we're working on the right things and doing things correctly. And then we have another group that's called active defense, or internally we refer to them as dynamic defense engineers. And they are responsible for our RE and our automation capability, as well as creating custom security controls to deploy throughout the Walmart global networks. You may notice that the word on the slide is a little bit different than what's in the brochure or on the website. At Walmart, we have a culture where we tend to focus on more positive terms outside of the negative. And so opportunity just means, hey, if there's something that we can improve upon, we're going to focus that as an opportunity to get better. Additionally, my legal team strongly suggested I take the other word out. So they also encouraged me to read the following disclaimer. The views, opinions, and statements are my own and may or may not be in line with my employer. So let's kind of get to the meat of it. This is really a story more than it is a technical presentation. The story about 2 teams that are very passionate about InfoSec and about driving the security posture forward of their company. And with every great story, there's always some problems and some bumps in the road you run into, maybe a little bit of drama, then a good solution at the end. Excuse me. So kind of setting the table for how we got into the situation we were in. Walmart had a great presence with a very mature penetration testing practice, and we're still growing that capability out today. What we really lacked or wanted more of was a simulated adversary presence. And we had done some great contracting work, but with our size and scale and with the mergers and acquisitions that we were running through, we knew that we wanted more of simulation. So we wanted to bring on a full-time red presence within the Walmart network. And with the one goal of moving our security posture forward faster. So in the beginning, we had great communication with the red team leader that we brought on board. Right before he even started, he started communicating with us via LinkedIn saying, hey, I believe in a purple mantra, let's get this thing going. We're going to do great things. And we were all very, very excited. We were super happy and excited cats. Blue team leaders were communicating back. We couldn't wait to get started. We were ready to kick the doors open. It's kind of, my mentality of a purple team and the red team's leaders' ideas of purple team, we felt like we were all on the same page going forward. And kind of stepping back a little bit, talking about the purple team practice, there's a lot of definitions out in the industry of what that is. And we didn't really want to do a focus group where we take members of the blue team, members of our engineering group, and members of, a red team or our penetration testing team and put them into a focus room to where, we give them a common goal and then that's it. And we all move back to our day jobs. We wanted tight integration with red and blue to attain the common goal of making us better. Open communications, and that was the goal. So to get started, the red team leader started putting this team together, and he did this with seasoned InfoSec professionals from internal to our company, as well as looking for talent outside the company that had, offensive experience in adversary simulation. So while he was putting the team together, we continued to discuss about, hey, we can't wait for the first engagement. Let's exchange some ideas on potential targets or potential campaigns, giving them really good ideas on, hey, let's test this, let's test that, let's get a cadence going to how we're going to get this thing kicked off. Meanwhile, the blue team they heard that we're bringing in an offensive capability. And all of a sudden, after 8 years of live security monitoring, we ran into something I did not anticipate. Instead of worrying about containment and eradication in any escalation that we had, all of a sudden we jumped straight to attribution on the majority of our escalations. And people were raising their hands up on my team, on incident response, in every discipline, saying, hey, wait, is this red team? Do I need to work on this? Do I need to worry about this? Because this could just be red team. And, we really had to focus back and say, look, I don't care who it is. I don't care where it came from. We're going to go ahead and do the traditional incident response practices, and I don't want to hear any other noise about who it is. Let's just worry about containment. All right, let's start there. So here we go. We got the teams ready. We're all ready to kick off our first engagement. And how do y'all think it went? Well, I'll tell you. It escalated quickly. We ran into some opportunities, so to speak, where there might have been some production impact caused, not to the business, but internally to some InfoSec teams. And because we were so adamant about, hey, don't worry about who it is, you go through the correct containment and you do your jobs, maybe our responders also caused some impact practicing containment. So we furthered the blow now to this point, to where now we've got systems down, we've got more systems down, and we've basically got all hands on deck trying to secure this potential threat. Well, the impact, of course, made it up to our leadership chain, and now they're not happy. So what we did was that word trickled back down, and it actually got back down into our operational groups within technology. And then we had a whole bunch of me toos, like, hey, yeah, we got problems. This is probably the red team too. Yeah. Come fix me. And so that kind of got out of hand. And needless to say, our blue team responders kind of got a little bit excited about that. So again, we had some rage ensued, but we regrouped, recovered the production systems, did the right thing, leaned in with the other operational groups, ensured that production systems were back online, and began to move forward. Now, Red Team were preparing their debrief document. A couple of weeks went by, so the seas have calmed, so to speak. Pardon me. And we understood that there was a debrief to the leadership that was really colorful. So I didn't worry much about that. Kind of focus on our day job. Then it came time for the red team leader to debrief the blue teams. And the blue team was going into the room for the debrief, and they're like, hey, we really want to see the slides. Like, show us the slides, show us the narrative. We want to see what happened, show us everything. And the red team leader was a little resistant. We're like, oh, let's just talk about some of the things that, we were successful with and how we can get better moving forward. And like, no, show it to me. He's like, okay, well, let's go through it. So that didn't go well, because it was essentially maybe more about hot dogging and some things that they were successful with than the facts at hand and like deep verbose logging for how the blue team could get better. So that got him some pretty direct feedback from our blue teams, to say the least. So meeting went awry, we regrouped, we come back out and said, hey, the red team and the blue team leaders all met together and we're like, look, we really need this program to be successful. We gave it a shot. We thought we were all on the same page. We thought it would be handled completely different than what it was, but hey, we are where we are. So in traditional company fashion, how do we get better? How do we move forward? I tell you what, let's break away. You document what you need. I'll document what we need, and we'll come back together and we'll see if we can't get this thing right the second time around. So when you're taking a look at the blue team, what does the blue team need from a logging standpoint, from a advanced adversary campaign? Well, the debrief was a great narrative and had some sweet memes and funny GIFs in it, but that's not exactly going to help me get better, right? We need verbose logging. You can never hand over the blue team enough artifacts from a campaign, whether they were successful attempts or unsuccessful. What remnants are left in the network, let me know every single thing that happened. That's really hard for a red team when they're focusing on, the end goal. So we had some opportunities there on how we can streamline that process. And the reason that, the blue team wants this type of information is, we start and we say, okay, when you did X, did we see an alert fire to our console? Okay, no. All right, well, did we get the logs into our central logging repository, into our SIEM? Okay, no. All right, well, let's go back to the endpoint system and check those logs and see if we can find some artifacts on what happened. So then we log into the end system and we look there. uh-oh, that's a problem. Now, this is 6 weeks past when the activity happened, and we missed our logging retention point. So the logs have rolled, as you can see here. So now, great. Now we have to call the red team again and be like, hey, can you redo that attack because we didn't have the opportunity to capture the right mechanism to see that activity. So that's a problem. Also, what the blue team needed was a little less enthusiastic debrief. Turns out people love their jobs, and they tend to take it, to heart and take it personally. Right? We're all vested in moving forward with the security posture of the company. The flip side of that is, though, that everyone needs to check their egos at the door, check the emotion, realize that the common goal is to make the business better. So that was a very good lesson for the blue team. Talk about what the red team needed. Maybe they need an inside presence, someone that can help steer them in the right direction from causing that production impact. An SME of a particular system that maybe they're going after, someone that can guide them with the system that they're not maybe familiar with as some of the SMEs. The other thing that we noticed was, we gave them very specific objectives. Well, like an adversary would, once you get into a network, maybe you see something else that would give you benefit that is not in scope of the exercise. We want to give them the freedom to be able to exploit that. Not just exploit a vulnerability just because they can, but because that would be something an adversary would do. And moving on, in order to test our abilities to respond to those. Something else we struggled with was once we got finished with the first exercise, we did have a lot of findings that come from that. But we really had no central repository to track those and post them in a secure manner that we felt comfortable with. So that was something that needed to happen. Basically, the findings went to the blue team. The blue team had to try to organize with all the application owners, hey, patch your stuff, do this, X, Y, and Z, and that didn't work very well because we still had day jobs to do. Then, what else they asked for was the ability to anchor and restart. So once they get a particular foot placed inside the network, there's lots of opportunities where they can go from there. So let's say on exercise 1, they get to point A, and they can go traverse and try to get to Z, X or Y. Well, that could be new exercises going forward where they can pick up from that point and then test different functionality within our network. So how we reset. I give the red team leader a tremendous amount of credit here. He took a very proactive and collaborative approach to drafting a new rules of engagement document, formalizing that, working with the blue team leaders in a spirit of partnership, getting their requirements, documenting, redrafting, and then presenting to the entire InfoSec group on what this is going to look like going forward. And what that did was it gave all the blue teams buy-in, right? They felt like they were a part of the new process. So that really helped clear a giant hurdle in working together as a purple team. So what are some of the key changes that came out of that? A real-time communication platform. It seems like simple idea. So one of the challenges that we had for the red team was, hey, we need more verbose logging. We need to see exactly what you did. The challenge for the blue team was also, by the time we get the debrief, everything's so old that sometimes the logs have already rolled off the system. So if we get into a real-time communication platform, the red team just documents exactly what they do as they do it, and then it's all archived for us. So now we can see exactly what they did that was successful and what wasn't. The type of attack they launched on the systems they launched with the IPs they launched it. Makes sense. Afterwards, they have very little to document because it's all captured in real time. Then we had a new role. We mentioned that they needed like an SME to help guide them and keep them between the guardrails. Well, additionally, and to the last point of seeing things happen in real time, they came up with the idea of a trusted agent. So we're going to take a couple of leaders from the blue team and designate them as trusted agents, so where if we have a red team engagement going on, they will not participate in the threat hunting or incident response process. They'll get visibility to this real-time communications channel. They will be plugged right into that, and they'll be able to see exactly what's happening in real time. So that way, they can get onto the remote system that we may not be getting logs for and say, yep, this was an alert we missed, or hey, this is a new log that we need to collect going forward and get into our SIEM. We never have to go back and retest. Everything happens in real time. Also, as far as the better defined communication objective, that objective for each exercise is also uploaded into that real-time communication platform. So we can go back and fact check and say, hey, is this a part of the exercise? Yes, it is, because that document is right there in the real-time in that real-time communication platform that we're all a part of. So now the blue team knows that, hey, if the rails start coming off, the blue team trusted agent has visibility to exactly what the red team is doing, and we can raise a red flag and say, hey, we need to pause this campaign. We need to stop and regroup before we move forward. And then as far as the debriefs, instead of the debriefs going directly to our leadership, they come directly to the blue team leaders now, and we come as a united front up to leadership to present those debriefs. Makes sense. And then we leveraged our partners over at the vulnerability management group to put the findings from each campaign into our enterprise vulnerability management tracking system, and they help drive remediation of the findings from the exercises. It's been a tremendous help. So hey, my team didn't get it right. That's okay. You have to learn from your mistakes. It's pretty obvious. I mean, well, once you think about it, if you take a collaborative approach and you work together and you make sure everyone is, on the same page, chances are you're going to have a lot better time implementing a new process into your organization. So now we're basically all happy cats again. I mean, we are InfoSec though, so mostly happy cats. There's always going to be bumps in the road whenever you grow and push your organization forward. If you take the right approach, that's the key. That's the key in order to have success. I hope this has helped you perhaps avoid some pitfalls that we fell into introducing a red team practice into your organization. You can reach me on Twitter at JRMorrow43. I'm happy to answer any questions you may have. I've got some time left today, and I'm happy to take questions. We also have a booth here at DerbyCon, so I'd encourage you to go by and say hi to Sarah and the engineering group up there. And also, our red team leader, Tim Malcolmbetter, is speaking tomorrow afternoon, so I encourage you to attend his talk as well. If you have any other questions, and also, our career site is right there. If you know anyone that's looking for a new opportunity in InfoSec, we have plenty of positions available. So appreciate your all's time today. Thank you. Yes, sir.
So that trusted advisor position that you mentioned, is that rotating through the different teams and the different subject matter experts, or is that a specialized designation? Does it take a lot of extra training, I guess?
Yeah, no, not really. We had a campaign where there was a particular SME that was outside of InfoSec that was brought in order to just help familiarize everyone involved with that particular solution. So it can change, and since they're the SME, it takes they just have to answer questions about their product, so it doesn't really take a lot of training. They just have to know that, hey, this is a non-disclosure type of situation. For the blue teams, though, we do rotate trusted agents. We have different trusted agents depending on campaign coming through. Cool. Yes, sir.
Well, what do you use to track the testing deeds in place of artifacts, right? So your details that you pass over to the blue team about who did what, when, and where. Real-time communication.
Yeah. So we've got that real-time communication platform, but then also there's different logging that the red team still performs, and it gives us certain screenshots or something from their campaign. They've got some bots enabled to help output some more verbose details that will automatically trigger and archive stuff whenever they launch particular attacks. Yes, sir.
Did you use for your real-time communication platform?
I'm happy to speak to you offline about that.
Would you consider using something like HipChat, or would you not consider that secure?
I'd love to talk to you offline about it. Probably wouldn't talk about that right now. Yes, sir. So sorry. Okay. Yes, sir.
Are people co-located, or are you all geographically dispersed?
Oh, great question. And I didn't really explain that very much at all. Our blue team is primarily located in Bentonville, Arkansas. That's where our 24/7 SOC practice is. However, our red team is vast majority remote. I think they've got one person on site. But as InfoSec as a whole in Walmart, they have different locations throughout the country. Sunnyvale, California, which is some of my group actually work out of that office. San Bruno, Reston, Virginia, and Hoboken, New Jersey. Any other questions? All right. Thank you all. Appreciate it.